So this is Sudden Strike, a real-time tactics game. Came out around 2000, 2001, just after Saving Private Ryan, and it's one of the quintessential earliest RTTs, real-time tactics. And I played the demo. Like a lot of these really old games that I'm still fond of, I played the demo from a demo CD when I was really young, and I really did not know what the hell I was doing, but still, I picked up some stuff and it set me on my way towards getting into other strategy games like Total War, and it gave me an understanding of a lot of the essential principles of warfare, combat, effectiveness, combined arms, rock, paper, scissors, using terrain, force multipliers, all that stuff. The stuff that's just universally useful. Other games like Homeworld had a lot of stuff that helped me with that as well. So back then I was absolute shit at this game. Like, it's really, really hard, and I was playing it when I was like 8 or 9, and it's still really hard. I mean, even playing on the normal difficulty and trying not to save scum or pause, it's actually, it's so easy to fuck up. It takes a hell of a lot to achieve these missions, to actually win them. Like, you cannot fuck around. So there are some that have always just intimidated me. Like, even the normal difficulty missions in this game when I was like 8 or 9 years old, they were just so daunting, so intimidating. Like, holy shit, it was just pointless. I didn't understand, like, just stuff like line of sight and using terrain and actually, like, planning and micromanaging all this stuff was just too much for me. But it's one of those games that I'll always be fond of, and I went back to it every few years. And the last time I went back to it was in 2017, and I made a video of it. And I think at that point, like, I've kind of got my shit together mentally, like, got pretty decent aptitude now. I'm pretty good at everything I do. Like, these games are not really difficult for me anymore. So I went back and played through the Stalingrad mission, and it did pretty well, and it gets comments, and I still think about this game because of those comments. And I went back and played it again in 2020, nearly, I think it is just over 2 decades, maybe, or just under 2 decades. So 2 decades later, and I'm still learning new stuff and figuring things out. So it's quite interesting to go back to these old games and see how my increasing aptitude and ability, competence, unlocks new stuff and helps me understand new ways to play it and be better at it. It's like a metric. It's like I'm comparing my past and my present, and these games allow me to do that. It's interesting to me, satisfying. I like revisiting things that used to be difficult and just crushing them. So one of the things about this game that I just recently got to grips with is laying mines. I remember I used to look at the tank traps, for example, and just not understand them. Mines are one of the most powerful things in this game. You can tip the balance of fights before they even happen. There's not much that you actually have control over in this game. Like, you can't micromanage units around really efficiently to win your fights and change the outcome. What you can do is lay mines well in advance of enemy armour or even infantry rolling over them, and then the mines can of course go off and do damage and help tip the balance in your favour. And I didn't really have any awareness or ability to utilise that years and years ago. Around 2015, 2017 I think, I went back to this game and managed to make it work, but it was always really micromanagement intensive and tedious. It seemed like the game wasn't designed to let you lay mines. It was really asking a lot of me to lay a minefield in the right place at the right time. Like, it takes a lot of clicks. But I think I've finally figured this shit out after 2 decades, and I'm making this video for the few other people that are enthusiastic about this game, that would like to be able to lay minefields as efficiently and as effectively as I am going to be able to do from now on. This is the kind of video that I really wish someone else had made, so I'm making it. That's why I make a lot of my videos. So one of the things that I've figured out that makes this a hell of a lot more valuable is the ability to stack up commands. So what you're supposed to do in this game to lay mines is to click on a rifleman and put one mine down, put two mines down, and run away. And that's supposed to happen on a bridge or in a choke point, like in a street. And that works. Like, that'll take out a tank or two tanks. You've used your time well, maybe. Like, you've spent some time, given some attention to destroy a couple of tanks. That's good. Like, that's how you're meant to play the game. But that doesn't really get you ahead. That's not a strike, if you know what I mean. That's not a royal flush. That's not a hat-trick. That's not a master stroke. That's just playing the game casually, doing what you're meant to do. That's not really going to cut it when you've got Panzer IVs, 5 Panthers, 2 King Tigers, 3 Storm Tigers, 3 Koenigs Tigers. That's barely going to make a dent. It's not enough. You need more. We need more than that. But if you've got your shit together and you think you're kind of getting a hang of it, what you might do is just select a big cluster of riflemen and then just make a shitty minefield that's really thin, that's not dense, and then have to restock them somewhere else, that supply truck, or order them all to pick up new mines from ammo crates that have been left on the ground, which is really, it's not very good, and it's still micromanagement intensive. I think you're getting a few mines out per click, basically, and those clicks are not very easy to stack together and make. But with the ability to queue commands, have ammo boxes on the ground, select a group of riflemen, and hold down the shift button so that all commands are being queued and not replaced. Order them to lay mines twice because they have 2 mines, that's the most that they can effectively do. And then after they've laid those 2 mines, they'll need another command to restock at the ammo box, so you can queue that after the 2 mine laying commands, and then you can queue another 2 mine drop commands, or you can just click all over the place with lay mines, and then click on the ammo box after you've been really thorough with the minefield, and then lay another minefield somewhere else, or at the same place. So you can do all of this in a few seconds. It's so effective. I mean, you could have riflemen dispersed all over the map, and select all by double clicking while control is held down, and tell all those riflemen to lay a local minefield somewhere, restock at an ammo box somewhere else, lay a minefield somewhere else, and then you'll have 2 minefields laid by infantry that are dispersed all over the map, and then have them all be grouped together at the end. It's so effective. I mean, god damn it makes laying minefields really, really easy. And seeing as minefields are one of the most powerful and underutilised aspects of this game, they're absolutely essential, in fact, to preparation for being assaulted by the waves that this game likes to throw at you. You can really push the game a lot further and do a hell of a lot better. Those scenarios that were previously completely out of reach are now potentially much more viable. So hopefully that helped you, like it helped me to figure this out. This is really fascinating, to go back to these old games and see how much my heightened aptitude and general increasing competence helps me to overcome these challenges. I would not have thought that this would ever be possible when I was like 9 or 10, and now I'm absolutely destroying these missions like it's nothing, and it's really satisfying to do. So hopefully you'll be in a position to feel the same way if you're just like me and are revisiting an old game that used to present so much of a challenge, but that you now have achieved mastery over, or at the very least are getting very, very, very close. To sum up, here is a good example of something close to the absolute pinnacle of how far this game can be pushed. So we've got 3 ammo boxes stuck together in one square. It's actually really hard to get 4 ammo boxes together in one square. And then we've got 14 riflemen. So that's 100 mines per box of 5,000, because it's 50 ammo for each mine. So that's 100 times 3 for 300 mines total. So 14 riflemen here are going to lay close to 300 mines in addition to the 2 each that they carry. So that's 328 total mines that can be deployed in a big circle with a radius here expanding out from these ammo boxes. So That entire patch of land is completely impassable to any vehicles. Of course, a light vehicle or a light tank going over it will eat one mine and blow up, but a King Tiger or a Storm Tiger or a Jag Tiger or an IS-2 or a Pershing going over this, they'll eat like 3 or 4 mines before they stop, and then they'll slowly heal up from getting their treads repaired at yellow health. But they are out the fight. Nothing makes it through this. Infantry can run over it, so that's the only thing you have to really worry about. If you've got a building that's got an officer inside it that's holding fire, surrounded by snipers, with a massive minefield expanding outwards in all directions, it is completely unassailable, and that's exactly what you should be going for in every mission, every opportunity you get. Otherwise, you should just be spamming mines all over the place, anywhere that you're not definitely going to have to travel through, because you can always just force fire at your mines and blow them up. That's another thing that stacking commands is really useful for. You can just get a light tank, and you don't have minesweepers in this game, of course, so you can't just go through with a Sherman with a flail or a plough and just make a path, but you can just force fire on all the mines. Sometimes they even chain reaction. Something else about that, the chain reactioning, even infantry going over these mines can be repelled by anti-tank guns, because typically anti-tank guns are ineffective against infantry, so they'll take off like 10 or 20% of their health, and then they'll be able to just run over it and keep going, run through the anti-tank fire. But with a minefield, when they're advancing over a minefield, then it's like they're surrounded by TNT, so when the anti-tank round hits the ground beside them and does some damage to them, it'll also detonate a mine, and that'll usually kill any infantry that goes right over it. So that's another advantage of having this really dense, thick minefield. Even infantry are stopped by it. It's inefficient to deal with infantry like that, but it lets you move all of your armour to where you need to push. So you don't actually have to have any anti-tank, really, in position to repel tanks when you've got minefields like this, because no tanks are going to be able to attack through there. So anywhere that you deploy mines, you're basically freeing up tanks that you can use elsewhere to make pushes. Also, artillery. You don't have to be spamming artillery into advancing tanks anymore. It's extremely powerful. And look at that. They've just been doing this whole time on their own. So you can dedicate riflemen to laying minefields and then leave them to it and micromanage somewhere else where your attention can be used better. And that's especially useful when you're not going to pause like me. I refuse to pause out of principle. So you can be preparing defences. Sometimes you get rushed really hard really early on, and minefields are always useful, so you can organise the deployment of minefields and then go off and finely tune the positioning of your anti-tank guns or your tanks or your infantry or garrison buildings while your riflemen just deploy all these mines. It's great. So riflemen can deploy mines, NKVD can deploy mines, I think some commandos can deploy mines. So mines and units that can lay mines are way more important when you can use mines so effectively. So you should definitely be trying to protect your riflemen, and if you're going to be using troops as expendables, probably submachine gunners. So if you're going to be prodding the fog of war, you should be doing it with submachine gunners pretty much. Also, you might be looking at this and thinking, wow, that's actually really expensive, that's using a lot of ammunition. But if you think about it, if a howitzer shell costs 300, that's 6 mines a target. So even if just 1 in 6 of these hit a target, it'll be doing as much damage per munitions as a howitzer shell that's hit its mark, which they usually don't because tanks are usually moving. So you can probably spend like 500 or 1,000 munitions on landing 1 howitzer shot on a tank, and that uses micromanagement as well. You can foot the outlay of micromanagement and munitions before the fight starts, and then when it actually matters, when the fight is going on, your munitions will have regenerated and your micromanagement will be available. Not to mention the fact that none of your units were in danger. This is a passive defense, so you're not exposing any of your units. Even your anti-tank guns, which are meant, even your anti-tank guns, which are a hard counter to a tank rush, are not being exposed to any threat while there's a minefield taking the brunt of the aggression. It's going to be the light tanks at the front with the higher mobility and the higher line of sight that are going to be getting taken out by these. So the light tanks will get popped and the heavy tanks will get stuck after they run over a few mines. It's a really good system, and it just tends to work out. Especially when you do this along the sides of choke points where there's going to be a lot of traffic. Like if you were to do this on a bridge, not even on a bridge, just past a bridge or on the sides of cliffs or on streets, imagine how much of a city could be mined with these ammo boxes and these riflemen doing this. I mean, it would be really, really effective. Imagine if I did Stalingrad again and utilised mines. It'd be great. Also tank traps. I might do a video on tank traps, anti-tank obstacles, because there's a lot of analysis that can be done on that, and a lot of things that I've figured out to do with that as well. And it looks like they're nearly done. Some guys are stopping. I think I could have maybe ordered them a bit better. It's a bit patchy, a little tiny bit patchy, but it's still really, really dense. And yeah, there's like 5,000 left, so this is pretty efficient. We've still got ammo in the middle. We could use that ammo in the middle to replace mines that blow up. So we could send out like 4 or 5 riflemen and do the same thing again to fill up the holes in the minefield after the mines get detonated. And that's it. That's, I think, everything, all my thoughts on this. Gives a fresh approach to a really not fresh game. And I don't think this has been covered by anyone else. I've never seen anyone else do this or heard of anyone doing this. So hopefully it helps.